Hi, we are back at Innovating India, the show that captures all the amazing innovation that's happening across the country. Entrepreneurs who are disrupting lives and changing the way we live. But today we have somebody different. The past 5 episodes, we've had entrepreneurs from across the country. Today we have with us somebody who's actually giving wings to those dreams. Dr. Apoorva Ranjan Sharma, co-founder of Venture Catalyst. Hi, Dr. Apoorva. Thank you very much for joining us. We're absolutely delighted. I just want to tell our viewers that Venture Catalyst is one of the top 5 investing firms in the country. Apoorva, in fact, invested in Oyo and in Ritesh Agarwal, the founder of Oyo, when Ritesh was just 70. So he places his bets early and he even sees them through. So Apoorva, I want to begin by asking you, what did you see in that 17-year-old Ritesh when you gave him that first check?
Shweta, when you are backing entrepreneurs in idea stage, it is the entrepreneur's capability, nothing else, and their idea. So it is a lot, 70% it is the entrepreneur's capability. Age does not matter. It is the entrepreneur capability which you will have to make an assessment. When I met him, I could see the vision of a young boy to become hospitality baron, because he has that idea and the vision and a lot of passion towards his idea to become big in that space. And also, he had a lot of information. As when we questioned him, he has all the required information related to his competition, what are the gaps in the other biggest giants in those. Airbnb was one of the biggest at that time. So he knew everything about that. And so we could sense that, he is a clarity of thoughts, what he wants to do and what he wants to become, and how he wants to make it a very large company. So even at that age, the maturity of business, the maturity of the mind was really, really high. That's why we thought of backing that.
So when you think of investing in a startup, right, and Venture Catalyst is an innovation platform. So what are the key things that you look for before you back a particular startup or an idea?
So I'll give you, some examples to understand. I can always talk theoretically, which I don't do that. So when we looked at, for example, Beardo, one of our portfolio company, we interacted with the founder 11 in the night. Okay, he explained me his concept, and we liked it. I said, can you come and meet us? Next day morning, he was sitting in the office. Very quick decision maker, very quick, and within 24 hours, we signed the term sheet. Again, very quick decision maker. Lots of entrepreneurs take 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days to sign a term sheet. This guy very clear. This is what I want, Dr. Apoorva, from you. This is what I do not want from you. He never wanted another thing. A lot of entrepreneurs not clear what they do not want. This guy was very clear that I know my business. I know how to grow it online. But if you can help me in the offline distribution, yes, I'm open. He was very clear, I don't want any help in the online distribution, right? So this entrepreneur was very clear in his business that Dollar Shaving Club is sold in US. There is a possibility of creating it here in India. We have one of the amazing products. We know how to grow it online. We need support on the offline. Guy was very clear in the 3rd month of his operation. Right? We met him, closed the thing, very quick decision. This is one example. Another example, what we looked at these guys. So quick decision making, clarity of thought, what they want to do next 1 year, and how they want to grow the company. Second example, when we met, this guy, another success story of ours, which is Super Delhi, which is acquired by Swiggy. This gentleman came to me with this idea of doing daily needs supply chain disruption. And this was something new in India. A lot of people could not understand what he's trying to do, but he was very persistent, because when you are bringing some very disruptive ideas to the market, very few investors are able to understand. For me also, it took around 2 days, 2 meetings. Normally I take one meeting, I'm clear. 2 meetings to understand. And he was very persistent that he wanted a support more than money. Because end of the day, when you are doing something very disruptive, you need support a lot in building the business, because business is also going to evolve over time. So this guy was he's an IIT Mumbai grad, Puneet, I'm talking about. This product was 30-40% ready and it was rolled out in the market, right? But he knew that it's going to evolve, so he came to an investor who can support him otherwise also. So we supported and we looked at it, and we also could understand that what he is doing is something very disruptive. If it works out, it's a very, very scalable product. Although in the idea stage, it is very difficult to analyze whether this product will be scalable or, but we always give it a shot when an entrepreneur is fully convinced and also idea looks disruptive. So this is an example of a disruptive idea. And normally, disruptive ideas takes time even for investors to understand. Right? 1 or 2 meetings are required for that. Another example which I would like to give you, this is a company called Fine, which has been acquired by Reliance from us. This guy, Harsh, when I met him, he was pivoting his idea. He learned it. He was funded by a venture capital company in the past, but he pivoted the idea. So when he came to me with a pivoted idea, and I said, why your previous idea has not worked, he was very clear why the earlier idea not worked and why this new pivoted idea will work. So this is an example. And then we could clearly see a picture how it's going to grow in next 3 to 5 years. So the way he was explaining and the processes which he was developing, highly process driven guy. So that's why we could realize that this person is going to make a really, really big company. It was very clear, super integrity in the thought process also. That attracted us. So these are 3 instances I told you how we evaluate startups, because these are characteristics of the founders,
Sure.
which matters when you are doing investments in the idea stage or the seed stage.
Tell me
I hope this gives you some examples.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the 9 Unicorns, the Accelerator fund that you've started, where you're looking at investing in businesses that are solving problems in India. Any interesting ideas that have come, in that for that Accelerator fund?
So, in 9 Unicorns, normally, so I want to tell you first of all, what is 9 Unicorn? 9 Unicorn is an accelerator program to support ideas in India, idea stage companies, and purely focused on the idea stage. There's not very few companies who focus on idea stage, because assessment of ideas in the idea stage is very difficult. So, we started this as a fund, which is a 300 crore fund. So we will be investing in 150 to 200 ideas from this fund. The idea is to back companies. At that stage, they don't need more than $100,000. When they're just starting, just ideas, they're just discussing this with their friends and families and an accelerator like us. Most of the startup economies, we talk about China and US as a startup economy, they've been built by accelerators, by the way. US economy is large. There's a huge contribution of Y Combinator and type of companies in building the Silicon Valley, because they are the one who backed idea stage companies. Y Combinator has backed around 2,200 startups. And there are 50, 60 more such companies in Silicon Valley. Similarly, in China, you have SOSP. My friend William is running it, who's backing companies in the idea stage.
Right.
And providing them the mentorship support, providing them the support which is removing their gap areas and preparing them for the large VCs, venture capital companies, other angel networks, preparing them for them. So this preparation in the idea stage is very important. If you don't produce great ideas, there are great ideas, but they need to be shaped. There are great ideas, there are great founders, but they need to be enabled, on their gap like. So importance of accelerator in any startup economy is huge. And India at the moment, as there is a gap, I tried set up an accelerator in the past between 2012 and 15, where I invested in 11 startups. One of them became a movie. So I have done an accelerator in the past. That's why when I'm doing second time an accelerator, I'm pretty confident this time that I'll create a much better company than any other accelerator in the world. Right? So now we are going to create 9 unicorns. The mandate is simple: educate young entrepreneurs on how to create great companies. And I can't do it myself. I'm inviting a lot of unicorn, semi-unicorn founders. I'm inviting a lot of top CXOs. I'm inviting the business investors to help us in this process. And a lot of them already joined helping us in this process. We're jointly developing their startups. And we are also in touch with the top global VCs who are also co-investing with us. So this is what going to be a big mission to develop great companies, startup companies. We are talking about $5 trillion economy. Only when you have around 500 unicorns in India, you can achieve a $5 trillion economy. And we can play a most important role as an accelerator to build that tech company. Because that's the core. When you develop a great idea stage company, only then a VC gets a great company. Only then the next round investor gets a VC. So that's why important to develop a great accelerator, we can be a help for these idea stage companies. Right? That's what we are doing.
Okay. I want to ask you, with the pandemic, a lot of big businesses have been forced to press the reset button with COVID-19. What does it mean for startups? Like, what's your advice right now for startups, in whatever stage they are at? What are the kind of areas they need to focus on? How can they be more sustainable? Any advice?
So there are 2 types of startups. One are startups which are positively impacted. For example, one of my portfolio company, PSafe, which is positively. A lot of tech startups where we invested, Pariksha Labs, they are all positively impacted, right? More than 60% of our portfolio. But there are startups who are consumer-facing businesses. They have been bitten by this COVID scenario. Right. Although the normalcy is already into 60-70% in India. And I hope by this quarter end, by December, we'll be fully normal. Because by now we realize, but during this time, I told my startups, and this was a message to all my portfolio company and even to every startup founder who's been bitten by this consumer-facing businesses, especially, to control the burns. Number 1. Number 2, innovate the model. Right? A lot of opportunities come when you have such time. If you innovate your model, you are able to capture those opportunities and compensate your losses, right? So many of my startups have done that, right, during this time. So during this time, it was important to control the burn till the market revives. And also, second, I told every startup of mine that focus on lining up your next round, because this is the best time when you have limited load of your operations. You can always identify your next round investors, and you can always close the transaction. So and everybody understand that this is an unprecedented situation. It has no fault of the startups. The business loss is there during this period. Every venture capital company understands. Right? It has nothing to do with the startup capability or a startup founder's capability, right? So everybody discount that. So this was the best time to reach out to the, a lot of next round investors. So this is the way how I've told my startups to constructively use the time and go to the next.
Whenever I speak to startups, I understand that what they say is that investors don't have the appetite to invest in India, right? And that's why they seek investments from abroad. So my last question to you would be that what are the kind of investments you as venture catalyst is betting on in the startup universe? And also this is a very valid criticism that somewhere startups don't find the investments to seek. Is that changing? What's happening on that front?
So I want to tell you something. there are two faces of a coin. So during the recession, during the pandemic, smart investors invest more because this is a time when they get the deals at the right price, and their multipliers are impacted if they get the deals at the right price because deals are there in the market, right? And yes, that's time. Another 5-6 months, you cannot, do the projections of the revenues and all. But this is a time when you can actually get the deals at the right price. So that's why, from venture capitalists, we have done already 50 investments. From 9 unicorns, we have already done 12 investments. Because this is a time when we are getting best idea stage companies at the right price. That is number one, as far as the appetite is concerned. But there are funds which basically put it on a hold because the uncertainties around the business. But uncertainties are going to go, right? It's not going to sustain for long. No economy can survive if this kind of things continue for long, right? So that's going to go. So another thing is, when it comes to the appetite of the investors in India versus outside India, it's availability of the capital and also the size of the market. See, the China and US and Europe, especially China and US, they have 20,000 plus VCs. China has around 20,000 plus VCs. We are still a small venture capital community in India, right? Whereas in US also the similar case. China is around 15 lakh startup economy.
Yeah.
Why will any venture capital funds from across the globe will not open the shop there? And similarly, US is around 8 lakh startup economy. Why will not somebody go in this? But now we are around a lakh startup economy, and we are growing at 25% rate. This is your government websites data, not my data.
Sure.
This is all data is published. 20-25% rate. In 5 years' time, we will become a 10 lakh startup economy because we are growing, and our Indian entrepreneurs, especially Indian diaspora, has created 71 unicorns. 40 of them operate from India, 31 are outside India. But that data is available. And also, we have around 300 plus semi-unicorn company, $100 million plus company in India, with a very limited capital investment. And this has been become public across big VC industry in the world. That's why you see suddenly there is an influx of lots of US and VCs in India. Because now people have smelled. And India is exactly at the same situation where China was 5 years back. A lot of VCs in US, they have made money when they invested in China at that time. Now if they go and invest in China, they won't make money because it's a cluttered market now.
Yeah.
Right? When there's a cluttered market, one startup, good startup at 12 term sheets. So valuation, advantage, multiplier gets impacted. India is on that situation where you get the startups at the right price and you can get great multipliers. So most of the international VCs are now looking India as a superpower in next 5 to 10 years time. That's why they are now entering, because if they come after 3 years, it will be a cluttered market. You will find 10,000 VCs here. They will have no role to play. Right? This is a time for all of them to invest in India and create great multipliers. That's why in 9 Unicorn also, we are getting a lot of international VC in the idea stage. They're saying, boss, please give us access to your deals. Right? Systemic access, people are asking. And I said, why? We have access to around 50 cities in India. Today, Catalyst operate in 50 cities in India. We get around 10,000 startups every year, right, to invest. Idea stage, it must be around 2,000-3,000 every year. We'll get you access, but provided you guys have a skin in the game. So so that's why, Shweta, a very good time is going to come for this startup economy in India. And a startup is going to play a pivotal role in making India as a $5 trillion economy. And this is a data-driven assumption. This is not I say, gut feeling or something. I'm talking about the data-driven discussion, right?
Right.
And these are the data you can look at. We are 71 unicorns, Indian diaspora, versus 200 unicorns of US and China. With a limited capital, what do you invest in Indians, right?
Wow.
With a limited capital, which is available in Indian market, which is growing at 30% rate.
Wow. No, that's a very optimistic note. We closed the conversation on that, but I think you closed it with a lot of cheer. A lot of people watching this show would feel a lot more optimistic, and maybe they'll act on the idea to actually build something, an innovative idea that could be the next unicorn of India. Who knows? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.